I'm Peggy Pirro, and this is Food From Here, brought to you by Swerka and More, working to support independent living and a better quality of life for seniors in southwestern Indiana, a mission that now includes an intergenerational community garden partnership with Young and Established to help relieve food scarcity in our community. In this episode of Food From Here, we meet Rachel Rainey, who inherited her grandmother's giant fudge kettle and used it to start 3 Chicks Fudgery in her home kitchen. Now the business has a storefront in Mount Vernon, a wholesale operation, and a food trailer for bringing her fudge, and her mini donut fryer for making fresh donuts on site to festivals and community events year-round. In our conversation, we talked about the 200-year-old building her shop is in, with all its charms and its old plumbing, about adding the donut maker to the mix after years of creating dozens of flavors of fudge and seasonal confections, and about being a bit of a perfectionist and how that quality that, yes, makes your work stand out, can also get in the way of growing your business. Later in the show, we'll look at food events coming up in the Evansville area, so grab your calendar and stick around for that. And now, here's my conversation with Rachel Rainey of 3 Chicks Fudgery. Rachel Rainey, welcome to Food From Here.
Hi, Peggy. Thank you for having me.
I was telling you before we started recording that one of my favorite food-based podcasters, his name is David Crable, got his start making fudge as a home-based business. Now, did 3 Chicks start as a home-based business?
Yes, we did start as a home-based business. I have 3, or had 3 at that time. I have 5 now kids, and was staying home. And my uncle actually brought me my grandma's fudge kettle one Thanksgiving. He'd been storing it in his basement. And he just surprised me and said, I brought you the fudge kettle. And I said, okay, well, I'll make fudge for Christmas this year.
Fudge kettle?
Yes.
Okay, that's a piece of equipment I'm not familiar with.
Yes, so we make everything in a giant fudge kettle. It's like a double boiler. So it's got churns on it it stirs all my fudge for me and makes it for me and stays hot. And yeah, so he brought me that fudge kettle. It's actually, the date on it is 1987, and I was born in 86, so it's just 1 year older or younger than I am. So it's quite the machine.
So you got this big machine in your house?
I had it in our house. We kind of converted our formal dining room, that no one really uses, into a fudge area. We cleaned everything out and separated that. And I was only in the home I started that December, and then by the next year in September, we opened our store.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it went really well.
It did, yeah. Yeah, it took off. I started doing some just small farmers markets with the fudge, just local in Mount Vernon, and then started getting into bigger festivals. And I had an overwhelming response that I was surprised that it took off as well as it did.
Yeah. What did you offer in the very beginning?
Fudge.
Was it just one kind?
No.
Oh, okay.
I started off with, I think, the basic flavors. We had chocolate peanut butter. We always did chocolate pecan, and vanilla pecan was the popular one. I think that first Christmas I started out with those. But then very quickly after, I started finding new recipes and I always tried doing new flavors. That was fun for me, was getting to do crazy flavors. That was really, I kind of started that right off the bat.
Yeah.
These different fun flavors.
Like Jenny's ice cream, who makes pickle flavored ice cream.
Yeah. We do some ones that I don't always keep them, but we'll do one just here and there. We have a jelly donut one that's so good. People love. It's like a cinnamon sugar with raspberry filling. It's really good. We do one, or last summer we did a pie series, and we tried all different pie flavors. We did a peanut butter pie, and it had a Oreo crust, and we did a lemon meringue one, I think. I don't know. In the summer times, I try a lot of new flavors because I'm at several markets weekly, so it's a fun way for people to try the different ones, as well as in the store.
Yeah, and people tend to be a little more adventurous about their food in the summer.
Yeah.
They want to try new things.
Or they have friends and family in town. They want to bring them in, and it's always a fun time to experiment with flavors.
As I mentioned when I reached out to you Rachel. My first encounter with Three Chicks was, I want to say it was sometime around 2016 at a Newburgh coffee shop. And the only fudge I was familiar with was brown fudge that tastes like cocoa powder and sugar, basically is what it tastes like. It was never a favorite confection of mine, but I tried yours, and yours was so different. I mean, the texture is really smooth and creamy. It's not grainy like a lot of fudge can be, and the variety of flavors, as we were just talking about, it just blew me away. And those two things set you apart. They changed my mind about fudge. Is this a common response?
That is, actually. I hear that a lot. A lot of people will say, well, I don't really like fudge. Because I always say, try a sample. Or one person that loves fudge will come in with another and I'm not a fudge fan. Like, it's fine. I don't take it personally. But I always say, well, have you tried our fudge or my fudge? And I say no, and then they try it. And they're like, oh, that's like no fudge I've had before. It's not the grainy, gritty, sugary. I mean, it's sugary, but it's not the overpowering sugary bite that you bite into. It's a creamy, smooth flavor and texture that people just are always surprised by.
Is there something in particular you do in your recipes to give it that texture? And is that something that you could share? Is that like a trade secret?
No, our sugar is pulverized, so it's the smoothest. When you see it, it doesn't look like granulated sugar.
Okay.
It's a finer, smoother sugar, and that's what gets it to the point that it's at.
But not powdered sugar, which is a different product.
No, not cane powdered sugar. It's just been pulverized to the point where it's just really smooth.
The crystals are teeny tiny, sort of like the softest sand that you could find on certain beaches, right? That. Another thing about your fudge is it's very pretty.
Yes.
Very pretty. And I wanted to ask you, because it not only looks pretty in person, and it looks beautiful online in your pictures, and that's an art. Food photography is a real art. It's one more thing that food-based businesses have had to add to their repertoire, to their skill set. And I wonder if you could tell me a bit about learning to take pictures.
Yeah, sure. So I love decorating the fudge. Being creative has always been something like that I've enjoyed. So getting to decorate the fudge and make it look pretty, that's always been fun for me. So it was 2021 that I was really started to get more into taking better photos. And I've always done okay with that, but I really tried to create a more cohesive look in my photos. And I just started looking at other places that I thought, oh, that looks really good. And I love how they do this, adding the ingredients when you take a photo. I'm really lucky. I have a beautiful backdrop in my store. We have these exposed brick walls and really good lighting. And so I try and set the fudge up. And I do all the photography just with my iPhone on my own. And I always put my 3 little chicks in the picture. I always have them. I have I found them at a craft show or craft store. And they come along and do all my photos with me, kind of have my 3 little chicks in every picture. And I just try and incorporate, if it's like right now, a strawberry cheesecake, we'll put a little strawberries with it or whatever ingredients or little accents you can to highlight those photos.
Yeah, for sure. You create a tableau of sorts.
Yeah.
I think everybody had to up their game, especially on Instagram.
Yeah.
And especially with the pandemic, because so much migrated online, and you simply had to be able to present in a way that was just very appealing to people, so they could shop with their eyes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted people to be able to look at the photos and be like, oh, that looks so good, And I get that comment a lot, like, oh, like it makes you want to eat it. So
let's establish that Three Chicks is more than just a fudgery.
Yes.
I shouldn't say just a fudgery because it's a wonderful confectionery, but I was captivated by the mini donuts, I have to say. I wonder if you could tell me when those entered the mix, and you have the donut machine in your shop. So does that hot oil ever freak you out?
No, it's very contained, and I've got little burn marks, but I'm at this point used to it. It's not really too scary for me.
So when did you bring the donuts in?
So we started the donuts 2021. Okay. We started the donuts. It kind of took an interesting path. I think it was 7 years ago, I was at a festival in Indianapolis just with my fudge booth selling fudge, and the lady next to me had this donut machine, and I saw it, and I was like, I need that. So for several years, I was trying to convince my husband, like, let's do this, let's get on board. We ended up adding ice cream. Actually, it was 2022 that we started the donuts. Sorry, I had the year wrong. We added ice cream in 2021.
Okay.
So that was the big ice cream counter. We added that in 2021. And then so the next year my husband's like, okay, let's do it. It's not a cheap thing. It's small, but it's not inexpensive. Plus, it's a learning process to make the donuts. And so our intention when we got the donut machine was to immediately have our food trailer done. But our personal lives kind of took a crazy turn. My husband blew out both his knees and had double knee surgery actually the same day that the donut machine arrived. And we also took in 2 foster care kids that same week. So our entire lives just totally changed and uprooted. So I spent most of 2023 helping him recuperate and just doing the donuts in the store. But I was actually really thankful for that experience because it was a learning process to learn how to operate that machine, and people see it now, they're like, oh, it just runs on its own. It was like, you have to get everything, get your batter just right, get your oil just right, temperatures and everything. So it gave me time to learn how to make them and make them good. Now we don't really do those in the store anymore. We do them on the trailer. And we go all over with the trailer, and that's been really fun.
Yeah, people seem to like them.
They are so good.
And we should tell people these are mini donuts.
They are. They're mini. That's why a lot of times people will come up and be like, I just want a donut. And I'm like, well, one's not enough. It's like they're minis. They're very little babies, and they are so good.
So when you were getting used to making donuts, did you have a lot of bad batches? Did you have to figure out what the consistency of your batter you needed to be and the
content?
It's
interesting. You had to get one. I buy a mix, and you have to get the temperature of the mix just right, or else they might turn into little donut balls, or they puff up too much. So, and learning how to operate at the correct speed because it runs on like a timer, and it's a little conveyor belt that brings the donuts down that hot oil and flips them and fries them for you. It's really fun. People love to watch it, or they want to take videos.
It's mesmerizing. I mean, you have a little reel or something on your Facebook page that shows the donut machine in action. And it's if you need a good meditative experience, I mean, just check that out.
Yeah, that's always like because then we take the donuts, they finish them, and then I top them in different flavors. We have 6 different icing flavors that we put on them, any cinnamon sugar, powdered sugar, or they're good just as is. But I always think, why? I always tell people, why get your donuts made? You get it's like a little show you get to watch and watch the rest of them get made. And then we do some specialty flavors that people love too. We do it's called Strawberry Delight. People love it's Nutella with chopped strawberries and powdered sugar over those little tiny donuts. So
oh dear. What else is on the menu? I saw Peeps Pops was one thing that came up in a recent, I guess it was around Easter time. You also had dipped strawberries.
Yeah, we at Easter we always do fudge Peep Pops, and those are great. People ask for them every year. We fill like the cake push pops that you can find. We fill those with fudge and put a little peep inside, and then sprinkles and stuff around it. And then in the summer and fall we do just regular fudge push pops without the peeps in them, and in a couple different flavors. They're fun for parties. Like you can order those too for like if you want them customized in a certain flavor for a birthday party.
Fun.
We do the fudge dipped strawberries, which are like I tell people all the time, if you haven't had a fudge dipped strawberry, not a chocolate. They are, we dip them in our chocolate fudge or our vanilla fudge, but it is different than a regular chocolate covered strawberry because it's dipped in fudge, and it's something about that smooth creamy fudge when you bite into like a strawberry. It's so good. So. And my favorite is actually the vanilla.
So do you have to use a different consistency with the fudge?
No. With the chocolate, we make it a little thinner for dipping purposes, just so we can get that whole strawberry cover. But pretty much everything's the same. At Valentine's Day, we have been so fortunate. People have just fallen in love with those. I think we did over 1,200 pounds of strawberries at Valentine's Day this year. Yes. And we dip them. I am very picky about those strawberries. We dip them fresh day of. And we pick through our boxes and make sure we only use the best. I probably only use half of what I purchase because I make sure they're the best strawberries that we dip. So,
do you have a use for the other half that gets rejected?
We chop them all up and freeze them for different recipes or different things that we use in the store. So nothing goes to waste.
That's a lot of strawberries to be hand dipping.
It is. Yeah, everything's dipped by hand. Day of, whatever day you order, it's dipped fresh that day. We make sure, that you don't get a bad one. Try our best.
So your storefront opened about a year after you started the fudge making out of your home.
Yes.
And then that shift to the storefront. Can you tell me a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so we found an old building in Mount Vernon, just kind of pieced it together the best that we could. I was really fortunate. My husband's grandfather and I were really close, and he's extremely handy, and he built my little store all on his own, and we just started moving things in and repurposed anything that we could.
Did you buy the building?
We did not buy the building. At that time, we were just renting it. I have since moved to a different location. We moved to a different location about 5 years ago, a building that is just down the street that we actually own and have renovated also. It's funny, both of these buildings that I've been in used to be old taverns. So I've gone from these old rundown taverns and moved to another one and fixed it all up. And our current building, we still have lots of projects to do, but it's a 200-year-old building that's fun to mess with. And our new location is where we've added all of the new things that we've been able to add because it's a lot bigger. My old location, I really only had room for fudge. Just our little fudge counter that we could fit. Now we've got a twice the size fudge counter. We've got a whole ice cream counter. And then we have a whole menu of coffee drinks in the store. And then some little gifts and fun things, too.
It's a sugar emporium.
Yeah. It's fun. It's been fun.
Well, I know that for a food-based business, it's often really difficult to run a profitable storefront. Most seem to make it work with a mix of, say, wholesale and retail.
Yes.
And sometimes they bring in a third or a fourth income stream, like online sales or events or something, collaborations. I guess you have been doing a little bit of all of that.
Yes. Yeah, I do a little bit of everything. We wholesale our fudge to several different gift shops in the Evansville area, a couple gift shops in Illinois, and actually nationally we're on a website called FAIR, and that's a national wholesale website that's open to anyone that might have a store. And we've shipped fudge to Washington State, Maine, Texas, all across the nation. So,
how big a percentage of your business would you say that online?
The online wholesale, I don't really know percentage-wise.
Is it substantial?
It's maybe like 20%.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good extra little revenue stream that you have when you things might be slow in the store and you get a order. It's always good to have extra. Like, you have to. That's one thing I always have. I've never just been focused on solely the store because I don't think Mount Vernon, where I'm located, is a small town, and you can't just ever. I've never only said I'm just going to have a store in Mount Vernon, and I've had my store since 2012. So, but I've never focused solely on just the store. I've always been fortunate to wholesale locations, and I've always my biggest. And actually what I enjoy most is events. And I do farmers markets and festivals. And now with the food trailer, I go to schools in the mornings or businesses and set up and do donuts and coffee. And, of course, everybody wants some fudge. So I have always tried to be doing something new or trying new things and not just think, oh, I'm just going to stay right here in the store and not. It's a lot of work, and I think that's what scares a lot of people. It is a lot of work to go and set up, but I've seen a lot of other businesses come and go that aren't willing to do all that extra work. So,
yeah, that is a lot. It's a lot of moving parts to keep track of.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about going to schools and putting out coffee and donuts? And
Yes.
how did that get started?
Yeah, so that's been really fun. I've actually really, my very first, I started doing that with West Elementary right in Mount Vernon. Just setting up in the teacher's lounge with the donut machine before we had the trailer finished and bringing our coffees and fudge and everything to them. Like you go, a lot of places, they don't have time to get out and everything. So in the mornings, I'll set up now with the trailer and I'll do coffee and donuts, and we have smoothies on the trailer and a whole variety of things. And they're just excited when I show up and like, oh, yay, today's going to be a better day, So I think it's just something fun that a lot of teachers in the area, we've been going all over doing that from Henderson to north side of Evansville, to Illinois, taking the trailer out and not just at schools, but several businesses. A lot of people, they just don't have time to leave their job, and it's always fun to have something different and mixes up your workday. So
yeah, it's like having the hot dog cart outside of your office building, except donuts.
Except donuts and coffee and fudge.
Let me make sure I heard you correctly. When you first started doing this, before you kept your donut machine on the trailer, you actually took the donut machine into the teacher's lounge?
Yeah, the machine it's not giant. And when you take the oil, you take the oil in and out of it when you transport it. So it's transportable. So I would set up shop, little tables, and kind of like you walk in like a little.
It looks bigger online.
It probably looks bigger in videos, and I have people say that like, oh, it looks bigger in the video I saw. It's a little machine. It's fun. It's fun just being the highlight of people's day is that you're just there bringing smiles and sweets.
So that whole mix, that whole strategy seems to be working for you. Do you ever feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, it can be very overwhelming at times. I think for me, because I do personally operate the trailer, sometimes, most of the time by myself. For bigger festivals and events, I have people that come with me, but it is hard to find somebody at 6 a.m. a couple days a week that just wants to go work a couple hours until we get to summertime when kids are out of school and things. But I'm booked on the trailer every weekend and then 3 to 4 days during the week. So then doing that is a full-time job, and then managing the store and making sure everything's running smoothly there. It has been a little of an adjustment the last year, trying to balance everything. But I'm really fortunate to have good employees that help me, and I've trained. I have always made all the fudge. I finally relinquished a little control and trained another, my store manager to make the fudge.
That's a milestone right there.
Yeah, and she's really great. And obviously the quality has stayed the same. Between her and I, we make the fudge together. So that's been very helpful having her alongside me.
When did you get the trailer?
We started the trailer actually almost exactly a year ago. We built the trailer all out by ourselves. It was an empty trailer, and we built it all out ourselves and put everything in. And so for a year now, we've been running on the trailer.
Yeah. Now, this is something that you pull on a trailer bed behind a truck, basically.
Yeah.
But you operate it like a food truck in that it's got a window that opens and you're inside. And you mentioned that you go to events every weekend. What kind of events are you going to?
Anything from some of the major festivals we have here in the area, craft shows. Sunday I was at a business for their open house, farmers markets, anything and everything.
Is there anything that you found that didn't work well for you?
Yeah, I will say like last year, all of 2023, I just said I'm going to sign up for everything. Because basically when I started the food trailer, it was like starting a second business. It's a lot of people don't realize that. It's a whole new game. Yes, I've been doing this for 12 years, but learning what events work, what don't work. Now, I already had a very established event schedule just with fudge alone, and most of those events I've been able to just add in, like they've asked me to bring the trailer instead of just a booth tent set up with fudge. Some I just only still do fudge at, and then we've been able to double book events, but I definitely spent a lot of time last year learning what works and doesn't work. Sometimes just setting up on a random Wednesday in a business parking lot isn't always the most busy time. So I've cut back from doing things like that and just going to more of my bigger festivals where I know people are going to be at. That's where it has been most successful for me.
And we have farmers market season coming up. Are you going to be doing any farmers markets this year?
Yes, I'll be at the downtown Evansville Farmers Market. That's right at the Ford Center kind of front area.
The Wednesday market?
The Wednesday market. Mm-hmm. I've done that since it's began. Actually, I used to do the Friday market with fudge, and so I've been doing that one for years. And I'll be at the Franklin Street Bazaar. That one we just solely bring fudge to with our little, they don't unfortunately have room for the trailer, so because it's already so established.
I saw your reel on Facebook showing the orders that were packaged up and ready for shipping and pickup over the holidays.
Yes.
I mean, there were a lot of orders.
Yeah.
Would you care to share some numbers with us?
Yeah. So at Christmas time, I do what you're seeing with shipping and stuff. I have a lot of corporate partners that they will send me their entire client list, and I will ship out thousands of packages to all of their clients. And I handle making the fudge, putting their logo on it, and shipping it to each of their individual customers. So, I mean, I have one order that I've had for several years from a corporate partner that I think just them alone, we send out over 600 gift baskets for all their clients. And that's just one. There's several others, I think. And then we had this past year, we had a really good partnership. They ordered 800 pounds of peanut butter fudge. So getting that.
Wow.
And also, I do fundraisers for different groups. So that's Christmas time is always a big time for those fundraisers. So people don't realize, actually, the month of December, sales-wise, almost is more than our entire rest of the year. So, like, when I tell people I don't do anything but fudge in December, that's it. I sleep at the fudge store. Not really, but I've thought about putting a cot up and just taking a nap, because making sure, I have a lot of help and I'm really fortunate, but I'm very picky, and so I check everything. That's why I always tell all the girls that work for me when they make a mistake or maybe don't do things. I was like, I always check everything. So before it goes out the door, I see it. So even if you think I might not, I always see everything, make sure that quality's there, because that's what keeps. If you let that quality fail, then that's when you start to lose business. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about employees just a little bit. When in the process did you hire your first employees?
I was probably not until a couple years in. I think like my second year. I was really fortunate. Just a family that I knew had a couple daughters that were in high school and looking for a job, and so I was doing the Friday farmers market. So she started working Fridays, and then when I moved into my location that I'm at now is when I really started hiring more employees, when we started having different hours with the ice cream, staying open later. I think I have 5 high school age girls that come in after school on different days and help, and then I have another, she's still part-time, but that comes in 3 to 4 days a week during the daytime and helps. And that was kind of something you don't realize you need. And it kind of happened. I had a young girl reach out to me. She had just graduated high school and was looking for a part-time job. And so she started working some daytime hours, and it freed up some of my time. And I was like, oh. It was kind of one of those things I was a little afraid to take on somebody more hours, because, I mean, payroll's a huge expense. So And I was always like, I can do it myself, or, we figure that out. But when it kind of just fell into my lap. It wasn't really a decision that I made on my own. She kind of reached out, and when I realized, I can actually get more done when you have good help and you have people that you can trust, it made it so much better for me because I was able to get things done that were getting neglected. And so since then, I think that was 4 or 5 years ago that she was helping me. And then since then, I've been able to add more. So that's been great.
A lot of the small business owners that I have talked to usually say something along the lines of, I probably should have hired help sooner.
Yes.
Yeah. But you don't realize it until after you've done it.
Yeah. And that's kind of, the nature of my business, a small town fudge store. You don't really go into it thinking, okay, I need like a ton of employees. Because except at the holidays, day to day, it's not crazy busy. But with everything that I've taken on to this point now, I definitely was like, I did not realize how much help I was going to need. And now I'm fortunate that I do have help and good help. So,
do you see I was going to call it the food truck?
Yeah, I call it truck trailer. I was trying to say a food truck is, I guess, but to like not confuse people when I show up in a trailer. Exactly. Yeah, but it's the same thing.
But do you conceive of that as a year-round?
I do. I do it year-round, which this past January was that's a learning process. And that's what, with the trailer or the food truck, pulling it was a learning process. Learning how to work generators, fix things. I have gone from not knowing how to do a lot of things to being able to fix a generator if I need to, or do a lot of things that I would have never done before. So January, I had a couple bad days that I wasn't able to operate when I was supposed to because I didn't realize certain things were going to freeze or not. It was some of those really cold days. I personally can stand the cold. It doesn't really bother me, but I guess I didn't realize that some machines and stuff don't like the cold. But now I've definitely learned a lot and have fixed those problems since. So,
did you come into your business with a lot of knowledge? I mean, not necessarily how to fix a generator, but other knowledge that you found has been helpful?
Yes and no. I mean, I went into starting the fudge business. That's what a lot of people ask about the 3 Chicks. The name comes from 3 generations of women in my family that have always made fudge. So entrepreneurship in like my father's side of the family, he owned a business. My grandparents owned a business. So that's kind of always been in my blood. So my grandparents had an apple orchard, and my grandma made fudge and sold it in their little gift shop that they had, and that was her fudge kettle. And my mom had a little gift shop in Carmel, Indiana. That's where I'm from, the Indianapolis area. That's where I grew up. And she quit doing that when I was probably in like 3rd or 4th grade to help my dad with his business. He had a lawn care business. So that entrepreneurship, and I did grow up around the fudge and fudge making and all that. So I had that in me. I went to Ball State and graduated with a degree in residential property management. I don't really know if that has helped me at all here, but, life experiences help you out a lot along the way. And I've just always been really creative. I've always enjoyed doing crafts or planning. Before I started this, like planning huge birthday parties for my kids was always fun. So like events and decorating and all of that has always been fun for me. So I think a lot of that has helped with the business.
It's nice that you've been able to draw on things that you enjoy to help build your business.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the name because I wasn't clear when I first encountered your business whether the 3 Chicks were contemporary or if they referred to a legacy generational relationship. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's that legacy of my paternal grandmother. She always made fudge and she always made the best pies, which that was not something I picked up on, and I really wish I would have, because pies and apple dumplings, according to my mom, were her major thing. So I did not get those learning skills from her. But the fudge making, and then, like I said, my mom, she started her store So my grandparents' apple orchard was in Muncie, Indiana, and my mom started setting up kiosks in the malls in Muncie and Greenwood and then Indianapolis, kind of playing off that apple orchard. It was called Huddleston's Apple Basket. And so she'd set up a kiosk at Christmas time, and they would have apple cider and fresh apples and then all the fudge. And they'd build – my parents had a very unique and – that's where I think I got a lot of this from. They'd set up apple crates and make a whole display, not like your typical mall display. It was very unique. And so she did that for a long time and then had a store in Carmel on Main Street, and kind of similar to what I'm doing now. So, and my mom helped me get started, kind of show me techniques. And she's still here with us and has helped me along the way to learn how to do all the things I'm doing.
Have you had advice from family members then?
Yeah.
For your business?
Definitely. My stepdad renovated the building that I'm in now from top to bottom. He's amazing. He's built everything. Him and my husband did all that. My mom was the one who showed me originally how to make fudge. Now I've made flavors and expanded and done things that she's like, I never would have thought of that, and so that's been fun. And my dad, he passed away 6 years ago, but when he was still alive, he was very hands-on, and he lived in the Indy area, and he actually did some markets. He did 2 weekly farmers markets up in Indianapolis when he was alive.
Nice.
And we would meet every week, and he'd take fudge up and sell fudge at some markets. So I know we unfortunately can't do that anymore, that he's not with us, but yeah, my parents have been great.
Let's talk a little bit, Rachel, about challenges.
Yeah.
Now, I know you've had a few, including with regard to your newer building, your more recent building, plumbing and heating issues. Yeah. This past winter. Yeah. And maybe a few staffing issues that were not necessarily, they didn't turn you upside down, but they just left a gap in your schedule that needed to be filled. Your business has so many moving parts. Yeah. What has been the most challenging, or has been challenging in general for you?
I think one, we are in a very old building, and it's 11 people come in and they say, oh, this is just so charming, it's so pretty. And I'm like, yes, it is, but if you only knew my head, all the projects that need done and all the things that still need done. And the plumbing went out. The pipes froze and heating and air conditioning. And it's just always something in that old building, or the roof's leaking, or any number of things that go on. And, you can only sink so much money into projects and things. So that's definitely challenging. And now that my schedule is so busy, when somebody can't show up to work that day, well, I'm booked at an event on the trailer. I can't fill in. I can't do what I needed to do. So at times, some days we have to just close, and, people will survive. So I think letting go of, unless there's a big order, but trying to just be like, it is what it is. And most of the time people understand, and I feel bad at times because I get visitors. I bring in people from all over because I do go to all these festivals and things. So I would always, if it happened to be a day we had to close early or something happened and somebody's like, I drove from an hour away, because that's happened before and you feel terrible. But most people are pretty nice and understanding. So
it is difficult to walk that line and to relinquish some of your need for perfection on all points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just managing the schedule, which sometimes I tend to take on maybe more than I should, and that's something I've learned is just because my husband and I, we have 5 kids, so and they have to be somewhere. And that's kind of why I started this business, is because I stayed home with our kids before I started doing this, and I wanted to be able to still have the flexibility and be there when my kids need me there. So I work a lot, but I definitely enjoy my flexibility to be able to be at all my kids' events and things going on, except if it's on a Saturday. So, but it's, that my family comes first.
So what is your stress management protocol, Rachel?
Well, luckily and fortunately, when you are in the sweet business, one thing I love to do is run and exercise. So that is very helpful when you're around donuts and fudge all day long. So that, and plus operating and being able to lift heavy equipment, that is my stress therapy, is working out and making sure I get that in every day.
Probably wise.
Yes.
If I wanted to start a food-based business that was similar to yours, what would you tell me?
You know, it's funny because I do have people sometimes like, you're my inspiration, like home-based food people that made me want to get into doing what I'm doing or have a storefront. It's funny because I never would have thought I would be that to anybody, but my advice is always just try things and be ready for hard work, because this isn't easy. You have to always sell yourself. And one thing I think I learned early on is, like, my business is all me. Like, everything you see is me. The way it looks, the way it's presented, pictures, that is me. And when, you know, maybe something doesn't go right, trying not to take it personally is really hard because, you know, or maybe you don't have good sales at something or an event or different things. Trying not to really take that personally is something that I've learned, because it is all you. It's not like you're just showing up to work and it's not really your business and you could care less. It's all a reflection of who I am. So I think that's been something I would say is have a tough skin and don't be afraid of hard work and be willing to try anything.
Where can people find you?
So our store is in Mount Vernon, our storefront, Mount Vernon, right on Main Street. You can always check Facebook to see our event schedule when we're open and available to the public. We wholesale fudge at Posh on Main Street here in Evansville, which I was actually supposed to bring fudge to her today and just realized I forgot. So here we are. I'll have to come back to Evansville again this week, which is fine. But that's part of being unforgetful. So,
do you ever take custom orders?
Oh, yeah. We do little party favors or like wedding favors for people. We'll customize them. And if they have like a certain flavor that's like special to them, we'll do that for them. If people want a certain flavor of fudge, I'll do that. They just have to order a minimum, and I'll make any flavor that you ask for. I'll do anything. I'll try it once. Some things don't work out, but I'll try anything.
So we'll see you at the downtown Evansville Farmers Market and in other places around the area.
Several places, yeah. Check our Facebook or Instagram and see where we'll be.
Food From Here is brought to you by Swerka and More, working to enhance the opportunities for independent living and a better quality of life for seniors in southwestern Indiana. That mission now includes the Intergenerational Community Garden Partnership with Young and Established to help relieve food insecurity in our community. If you're listening to this episode of Food From Here on or around the day it drops, you can still make plans to attend the 7th Annual Evansville Food Truck Festival. That's going on this Sunday, May 26th, from 1 to 8 at Bossy Field on North Main. If you're listening after that date has passed, you can still find those trucks at farmers markets and music festivals and events around town throughout the summer. And of course, you can get your food truck fix at Farm 57 most Wednesdays from 4:30 to 8. You'll find Farm 57 at 3443 Kansas Road, just off Oak Hill. Here in downtown Evansville, we're keeping an eye on Patsy Hardigan's Irish Pub, coming very soon to Main Street. And a reminder that Main Street Food and Beverage has several food vendors and outdoor seating at their food hall just off Sycamore. Also, a tip of the hat to Joe Brewski on 6th Street, who demonstrated the power of community to keep their cold brew storefront open. You can find the whole saga on their Facebook page. And that's our show. And it's also the end of our second season of sharing the stories of local food growers and chefs and entrepreneurs and educators. We'll be back with the summer season beginning in mid-June, where we'll talk with a private chef and a couple who make amazing jerky from mushrooms. We'll meet another candy maker who was inspired by the local candy shop of his childhood, and we'll hear from a food supply innovator who dreams of putting a tiny greenhouse under the counter in home kitchens everywhere. Food From Here is produced by Tri-State Media, home of WNIN-FM and WNIN-PBS. Thanks to Swerka and More for sponsoring Food From Here, and thanks as well to you for supporting public media and local shows like this. I'm Peggy Pirro. I'll talk to you again in a few weeks.